I have a question for all of you men first. On a scale of 1 to 10, how successful and significant do you feel right now? And for you ladies, on a scale of 1 to 10, how secure and emotionally safe do you feel right now? Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Greg Stewart, and this is week 5 in a series I am doing to promote my book, iCubed. Unlock the Strength Behind Your Negative Emotions, coming out spring of 2025. Good news. Just want to say on a side note, I have completed the book and it's going to be heading off to the final editor this week and then off to the publisher. So hopefully it will come out in January. Very excited. So thank you for watching these videos. Please share, of course, and subscribe as the book is getting promoted for the next several months. So this week, I want to go into deeper. So when we talk about the overall emotional goal process, that everything we do is trying to achieve an emotional goal, okay? And then the paths we take to achieve the emotional goal are really the behaviors, choices, and habits. So the emotional goals are always good. The paths we take to achieve those emotional goals may not be good. So we have to evaluate whether or not the paths, the behaviors, choices, and habits we are taking to achieve the emotional goals are rational, healthy, wise, or right. That is kind of our grid. In the process of walking forward, we're always in the pursuit of both micro and macro emotional goals. The micro emotional goals are the here and now. So every moment, if I'm thirsty, if I want to take a nap, if I am hungry, if I want to scratch my arm, whatever it is, they're micro emotional goals. And we're always in the pursuit of trying to achieve those goals. But over here, always over here is in our peripheral are our macro goals. Our macro goals are basically our quality of life as defined by standard of living. We're always pursuing a better standard of living, but we're also pursuing the achievement of deeper emotional needs as humans. And that's what comes to security and significance with men and women, respectively. In that pursuit of that, we are also trying to find value, purpose, and meaning in our lives. Okay. So we have our macro emotional goals we're always trying to achieve, but always in our peripheral, we are trying to also achieve and move towards our macro emotional goals of quality of life as defined by those 3 areas. In our pathways to achieve each of these micro and macro goals, we have to assess each path, behavior, choice, habits underneath the grid of rational, healthy, wise, and right. This week, it's about the macro goal. The macro goal specifically on those deeper emotional needs of security and significance. Sad stories, but just to illustrate is throughout the book, I talk about my experiences and growing up and in life. And one of those experiences, one of those profound experiences when I was working as a director of a residential treatment center where we cared for adolescent boys and girls. Our residential treatment center is simply a longer-term inpatient stay, 6 weeks to 6 months, because if these teenagers had suicidal ideation and they'd be admitted into a what's called an acute hospital, a short-term stay for 3, 5, 7, 10 days to stabilize. If they have had 1, 2, 3 experiences in the acute hospital and they weren't stabilizing, they would get referred to an RTC, so residential treatment center. And I was the director of that RTC. I began as a therapist, actually, when I got hired at the hospital as a therapist in the girls unit, and absolutely developed a huge, huge heart for these girls, love them dearly. But one of the major behavioral issues of these girls was, as you might imagine, cutting. When I began as a therapist and I heard about cutting, I was shocked and surprised at the behavior, as a lot of us would be. Why would they do that? Why would they harm themselves in that way? But working with the girls, and they would participate in some self-harm, like cutting. That was the path that obviously was not rational, healthy, wise, or right. But I started to break down what were the emotional goals, because everything we do is trying to achieve an emotional goal, and kind of laid it out where there's 3 potential reasons or emotional goals they were trying to achieve by the pathway or behavior of cutting. One was when they would cut and bleed, it was as if there was this symbolic releasing of pain. Again, not rational, but that's what they felt. That was the path they used to achieve that emotional goal because they didn't know another way to do it. Another option for them to cut was they were so tired of feeling pain in their heart, they wanted to feel pain somewhere else, physical pain, because they could control that pain. And third, the other reason would be, and this is more rare, but some girls were just so at the point of just being kind of dead inside that they just wanted to feel something. It was sad, what a lot of these kids went through. So in that process, to illustrate that everything we do is trying to achieve an emotional goal, they were trying to achieve an emotional goal through this very, very unhealthy pathway of cutting. And another kind of, icky example, but it's true, is let's say a lot of guys in our pornography epidemic today, when it comes to this stuff, and I won't get into it too deeply, when it comes to, immoral sexual behaviors or unwanted sexual behaviors, even these behaviors are still trying to achieve an emotional goal. But whatever it is, once an emotional goal in a behavior, once an emotional goal gets attached to sex for guys, that's the piece that becomes addictive, because of this. The sex piece is so, addictive. But guys pursue pornography because their main emotional goal is to be admired and desired. And based upon the way pornography is made, you can kind of link the two. But once that emotional goal is trying to achieve through the very irrational, unhealthy, unwise, and wrong pathway of pornography, then it becomes addictive in nature, because their emotional goal is to be admired and desired. If there's a non-rational, healthy, wise, and right pathway, then the goal is to find other pathways to achieve the same emotional goal versus just stop pornography, right? Or just stop cutting. There has to be other pathways that are chosen in order to achieve the same emotional goal. I mentioned last time that, like with the minor behaviors, like somebody is trying to reduce stress via the pathway of drinking. What we have to be aware of in the change process is, when we already know there's no convincing somebody that drinking alcohol to reduce stress is unhealthy. But when we start thinking through trying to achieve this emotional goal, good emotional goal, many other paths, when we try and choose paths that are rational, healthy, wise, and right to achieve the goal of reducing stress. So why do we struggle just doing a different behavior? And this is the key. It's because when we switch from this path that's not rational, healthy, wise, or right to another path, it's hard to switch because there is loss. There's emotional loss in the path that we're leaving. Otherwise, we would not have chosen that path to begin with. So somebody, like after work at 5:01, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, they have a drink to, at the end of the day, to reduce stress. That first drink or that first feeling is the reward. They feel just like emptying out. Right? They just empty out and they're able to feel something different. Well, if they choose to not drink and choose other paths to achieve that emotional goal, reducing stress, there is the loss of that feeling, which is very, very powerful. Is that first drink after, 5 o'clock. So believe it or not, like when somebody is trying to quit pornography, there is the loss of the dopamine that this very this irrational, unhealthy, unwise, and wrong path has. There's a loss when you choose a different path. And even with the cutting, or even with smoking cigarettes, whatever it is, doing drugs, we have to deal with that loss of the emotional reward to the non-rational, healthy, wise, and right path. And a lot of people don't think of that loss. So that's why it's so hard to switch from a non-rational, healthy, wise, and right path to a healthy, wise, and right path, because there's also that loss involved. And obviously we have to retrain our mental model in the habit. Secondly, when it comes to this overall path as far as achieving a deeper emotional goal versus these non-rational, healthy, wise, and right paths, when it comes to security and significance, right, for men and women, let's kind of take a big 30,000 foot view at our life, because we're talking about micro and macro goals. We're at the macro, the bigger picture goals. Picture your life as a pie, right? So there's all these slices to the pie, and each slice represents an area of our life that makes up our life that we want to do in order to achieve many emotional goals. So we have, relationship with our spouse, relationship with our children. We have work. We want to achieve the goal of recovery time, of recreational time. We have the goal of our relationship with the Lord. There's all these different slices of the pie. And sometimes, like one slice, because it gets super busy at work or whatever case, or we go on vacation, that slice of the pie gets bigger. So the slices of the pie change according, throughout days and weeks. But here's the key. So when we look at our pie, we have to do a 30,000 foot view to assess each slice. Are we accomplishing the goals? Because this all relates to our values of life. Are we achieving all of the goals of the slices of pie? So let's say men, when we're trying to achieve the emotional goal of significance and success through the whatever pathway we're choosing, let's say it's work, if that pie gets too large, that means the other pieces of the pie shrink. Why? Because we only have so many resources, namely time, money, and even emotional resources to invest. So we might be hitting all the other areas, but because we put so much emotional energy and we only have so much, it's a resource, into our work, we don't have enough for spouse and kids. Also, that if we are trying to achieve just out of drive, that we just simply don't spend any resources on some of the other slices of pie, like recovery time, recreation, or relationship, then that's where it becomes non-rational. So it's not that the path itself, work, is irrational, unhealthy, unwise, or right. It is that it is the size of or number of resources that path is taking because we're not achieving the other slices. That is what makes it not rational, healthy, wise, or right as well. When it comes to, let's say, security and relationships for ladies, if that's the emotional goal, there are many paths for you to take in order to achieve the goal of security and emotional safety. Just like there's many paths for guys to achieve the goal of significance. I want to be significant as a father. I want to be significant as a husband. Ladies, you want to have security and safety by having all of your proverbial ducks in a row and make sure all these. But if we overemphasize one path, such as that a lot of your security and safety is met in your husband or met in your identity as a mother, and honestly, that you don't hold enough of your own security and safety inside of yourself or have enough security and safety in your relationship with the Lord or with other people, whatever have you. It's just when the path also gets increased that we should spread the wealth of our security and safety and guys with our success across the paths and realize there's many paths to achieve the same emotional goal. So the evaluation is evaluating your deeper emotional goals this week of security and significance, and evaluate either the pie and the paths to say, is there an overemphasis on one path over another that we need to kind of adjust the level of importance or resources we're putting into that path to achieve the very, very legitimate emotional goals. So it's always about achieving these emotional goals, both in the micro and the macro. But we have to evaluate the bigger picture, the overall pie, and evaluate the paths we're taking to meet those goals and make sure that all of the goals tangibly are being met in order along these paths to achieve the greater emotional goal of security and significance. I hope that helps. We shall see you next week. Bye-bye.